Hello. We'll be with you guys once we're all here. We're live. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Black Cat Comics. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Black Cat Comics podcast, brought to you by Black Cat Comics in Rockin' Milpitas, your one-stop shop for all things superhero. We're here every week giving you the what for and the what not in the world of comics. I'm Mark.
Marcus.
And Chris.
And this is our special live episode of the CatCast as part of the Black Cat Comics Rockin' Milpitas pre-ComicCon ComicCon. Every year, the week before San Diego Comic-Con, we like to give you folks, our audience and our customers, our regulars, our nice folks, a little taste of what goes on at the big show. So we do a different event each night, different sales every day, all kinds of fun stuff. We ramp everything up a notch like this. We bring the podcast live instead of our usual hiding our old faces from you guys. Last night was the VIP night. It was preview night at San Diego Comic-Con. Preview night is super awesome. Because you get there and you raid the floor before everybody shows up and you get all the good stuff before it's gone. So on VIP night, preview night here, we let the subscribers and the VIPs do the same thing. We let you guys come in and raid the store and get all the good stuff before it's gone. It's all pretty much half price, so a ton of people showed up. We ate, we drank, we were merry. It was good times were had by all. And now this is day 2. We're doing the live podcast, just giving you a look behind the curtain at what we do every week. We get together, we talk about this week's new fun stuff, and talk a little bit about what's going on in the world of comics. We're going to talk about this week's books. We're going to talk about San Diego Comic-Con, of course, coming up next week. Going to talk about a lot of the big event books going on, like Superman Year One and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Then tomorrow night's the movie night. We're going to be showing Captain Marvel, which is super awesome.
My wife's excited.
Movie night is always a ton of fun. So if you're local, come out. We set up an awesome time. We have a great time at movie night. Then Saturday is the industry panel discussions. Going to talk about what's going on in the comics industry. Going to talk about Comic-Con and being prepared for Comic-Cons because we're in the heyday of that season. Then Sunday we wrap it all up with the swap meet.
Woohoo!
And the swap meet just gets more and more fun every year. So again, if you're local, come out Sunday afternoon, bring some stuff to trade, or just come out to pick up some awesome stuff from guys like us and lots of other comic book folk. So that is the introduction to the folks at home, or to the folks on the air, as they used to say, as to what we're doing here and what we do every week. So let's get a little bit right to it. I guess I will like to start everything with the most recent issue of the Avengers. Chris, I know you've got a War of the Realms 5 and 6 handy there too. I have been loving the current run of Avengers, but I admit I'm an easy sell. But
we all are.
It's just been really fun. I'm a big fan of Jason Aaron because he's a little bit like Mark Waid in that he just knows what comic people like and gives it to us, not in an expected trite way, but in a fun, cool, exciting way. All that good stuff. I bring this up to start because if for some reason you haven't been reading this book, you can jump in on this issue, and then it's going to want to make you go back and read War of the Realms and the previous issues that you've missed. And we always say that's what comics is supposed to do. It's supposed to make you want the next issue and make you want whichever ones you've missed. So it's a good time to be an Avengers fan. And if you don't believe me, then pick up the latest issue. Pick up the last issue of War of Realms. Was that last week?
No, this 6 came out this week. So I'm pretty sure
last week.
Last week.
Anyway,
but
it is out.
It is out.
and it wraps up in a big way. And,
that's the last part?
Yes. Okay. No, the Omega was this week.
Omega. That's right.
Confused. The Omega issue was this week.
I haven't read that
Thor
yet.
15 is this week also, and that kicks off the next, like this one, kicks off the next wave of what's going on.
And things happen in this. I don't know. Do we want to go spoilers?
I don't think we want to go that deep with Omega this week. Marcus probably hasn't read 6.
Yeah, there's things people have been wanting to happen.
Well, that's good.
And I will say it the final battle wrapped up a little bit quick, but not too quick. But I would like to see him gone a little bit longer. But that was fun.
It was really cool. There's of many things. There's one important. What would you say? Something happens to Thor. Many things happen to Thor.
Oh yes.
But one of them is visually extremely cool, and I'm very excited about that. But again, I don't want to spoil any more than I already have.
Yeah.
But I think War of the Realms backs up a little what I said about Jason Aaron. And like everybody, everything has its critics. The events have their critics. He has his critics, but I think he does the regular issues well. I think he does the event books well. I think he brings in, if you're a new reader, you can come into Avengers or to Thor or War of the Realms and get, into it and get involved with the Marvel Universe and whatever.
Yeah.
I think he does his job and he does it well.
Yeah. And the pacing in the story was really good. Artwork was incredible. I loved
each issue was nice.
Yeah.
As far as the art's concerned. So it's Avengers. Avengers did a really good job of keeping a good artist on since the beginning.
Yeah. What I liked about it too also was the way it felt. Instead of like most events, it's happening in New York or it seems to be happening just in the United States, but this one was all over the place. And so they were teams of Avengers and different heroes in different locations. Everybody got their time to shine. Everybody got, equal time.
That sounds good.
Especially in that I think at 5 where like you're going from different realms and different places on Earth and the different heroes,
But it's just under the level of too much going on. Somehow the pacing works. Like you say, everybody gets their time, but it's kind of enough time. So you can kind of follow. You're not like, oh man, there's too many characters. There's too many everything.
It's sort of like Infinity Gauntlet, where in the movie where they were all over the place. Everybody got their chance to shine. Nothing seemed like it was heavy on this, and nobody ignored this. Everybody sort of got their time. It was pacing was really great.
And again, that's kind of what a event book should be. It should be fun for those of us who know all this stuff, but it should also be something that the new people can get into and be introduced to the old characters, the new characters, find somebody that they like, all that kind of thing. Are you talking about that sun that's like right there? Yeah. That's okay. It's giving me a cool mustache. To kind of close out on that, and again, I know there's naysayers, but one as a retailer, one thing I really like is when the event book sells all the way to the end. A book sells because people are reading it. Everybody buys number 1. The only people that buy number 5 are the people who are actually reading the book. And when I'm still selling out in good numbers at issue 3, issue 4, issue 5, that tells me that the story and the art is entertaining the people. And that's what, especially the event books, that's what those things are about. And again, from a retailer perspective and from a fan perspective, I often say it should be the same thing. It's trickled out. People then start reading Thor, and they start reading some other book that they haven't been reading. And that
usually happens at the end of all those, like the Marvel events for me. I'm picking up a title, at least one title of somebody that I wasn't reading before, because there was something good in that, series that I read.
Right. That's exactly how it's supposed to work. And it doesn't always go that way, but War of the Realms, they did all these side books, War of the Realms, X-Men,
it had a lot of crossover.
And that's always too much. But
issues, War of the Realms,
War Scrolls, all kinds of stuff. But some of those are pretty good too. The Daredevil thing, if you check them out, they were worth it. So I say, just to round all that out, it's a good time for the Avengers side of comic stuff. We have 1,000 books to talk about, and we're live, so we need to keep this within our realm. One other thing I really wanted to get to was this one, was Invisible Woman #1. And it's particularly, there's all kinds of things about this, but if you watch my video every week, if you listen to this podcast, I'm a big Fantastic Four fan. We talk about Byrne, we talk about all kinds of things Fantastic Four all the time. And after almost 50 years, maybe over 50 years of Fantastic Four comics, this is the first Invisible Woman book we've gotten.
That's true.
The Thing has had his own title several times. Human Torch has had his own book several times, but Sue and Reed are kind of neglected. And I think that's a dramatic oversight. She's one of the most unique characters in comics. So it's long overdue that she got her own book.
And I still say she's the most powerful member.
She is the most powerful.
She's one of the most powerful characters in Marvel Comics.
That's what Byrne made you think.
Well, Lian Kirby, she dropped the Hulk, right? And that's one of her original claims to fame is that she can stop the Hulk and nobody else can. Anywho, the art in this book was really great
and wrapped around an Adam Hughes cover.
Yeah, I mean you can't ever argue with an Adam Hughes cover.
Especially when it's not a variant cover or anything; it's just the regular cover.
It was 2, wasn't it?
Yes, there's an A and a B cover, which I'm a big fan of. Won't go too much into it, but just to say the story was cool, the art's cool. And it's just great to see Sue.
Yeah, that's why I picked it up. That's the one I called about last night to make sure that it was in my box because I wanted to make sure that I read it.
And one thing I'll talk about again is from the retailer angle, and I have another. We'll get into reprints here in a minute too. But Marvel has a couple of things going on, and one of them is their Overship program. And I mentioned that almost for very little reason, except it's a really neat thing from the publisher end. What I'm talking about is they sent every retailer, they matched their order, right? If you ordered 20 copies of this, they sent you another 20 copies free. Nice. Yeah. In the idea that you'll sell more than you ordered and you'll realize that you should have ordered more and you'll order more of the next one. Right?
Is that just for like number ones, or is
they do it sort of randomly? Next week they're doing it with Invaders, and anyway, it's a very smart program.
Yeah, no.
Because every retailer, out of necessity, orders only exactly what they think they're going to sell. Yeah. And so when they match my order and I get twice as many and I sell a lot, sometimes you don't sell any more than you thought you would. Yeah. But sometimes you sell way more than you thought you would, and you realize that the book's more popular than you thought. Yeah. You have more readers, and that everybody wins.
So what happens if you don't sell those extra?
They don't care. They don't send it to me, and they don't.
So
care.
In other words, it's
a free Overship.
Yeah. So you could put it in your dollar
I could do whatever I want with them. I can give them out to people and say, hey, check out some Invisible, whatever I want to do. And so, like I say, kudos to Marvel. It's a great program. There aren't enough programs for retailers. There aren't enough programs that motivate people to read comics. And the lifeblood of this stuff, we all collect books for all kinds of reasons, but the lifeblood of comics is reading them. And it behooves the other publishers to think about a program like that. Yeah. So I always like to chime in my little retailer bits.
That's you don't hear those kind of things, and that's great to hear.
It's just a really smart program. Now we're going to cut to the Chris part of the show. I'm going to stay on Marvel a little bit. Then we're going to get to the DC part. Marcus is going to talk about Batman, but we'll talk about a little bit of Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man World. So I like being with the camera because, like my video, I can show them the cover. On the podcast, we're always talking about this amazing art, and no one can ever see what we're talking about. Amazing Spider-Man number 25 is this super giant-sized anniversary issue. Marcus, we love talking about anniversary issues. And I don't know what the legacy number on this is, 826, but so what? It's number 25 now, and it's double-sized, and it's lots of fun. Yeah. Chris, take over from there.
Well, we've been going through this little storyline with Kraven, where it's like kind of like a homage to his Kraven's Last Hunt. So it just wrapped up. Again, we'll stay away from spoilers, but it was like, wow, Nick Spencer has been just hitting it out of the park. And what I love about it, he's readdressing old villains, old story plots, in a way that's like, oh, I've seen that before. No, it's not that. It's fresh. He's not just doing it by the numbers. And I will, when I'm not on the podcast, there's some writers I go, they're just doing A, B, C, and I hate that. This guy, he's doing it, and he's like, he knows his stuff. He knows how these characters are. He knows where they've been left off, and he's doing different things with them. But he's not doing so different that you're like, huh? What? I don't recognize this character. We'll say one thing. I'm going a little minor spoiler, but he brings back a Spider-Man villain, one of his classic Rogues Gallery villains that we haven't seen in years.
Is it the bunny suit chick?
No. He is bringing. Let's just say, when you think about Kraven, there's somebody else goes along with that. Okay. And Spider-Man fans know what I'm talking about. Everybody else is going, Kraven, some other hunter guy. No.
My brain drifted.
Yeah. But it's like when I saw him, I'm like, holy, I don't know when the last time we've seen him in the comic. I'm almost with bet was like a
it's
decade.
Always cool when an author does it. That's what I liked about Tom King.
Yeah,
he pulls an obscure Batman villain into the book that only somebody who had read that comic in 1979 would even know that villain existed. And so for him to pull that into the current story, I love that stuff.
And it shows these guys read the old school stuff.
Yeah,
it's always fun.
Well, it's not even an obscure character. This is someone I would say, if you would rattle off all Spider-Man's Rogue Gallery. This is the guy who would probably come up on your like, oh yeah, and this guy, like you would forget about him. But the other thing I want to talk about is what he did with Mary Jane, and something that I've always said, that Mary Jane is a great character. She's a strong woman. She knows how to handle herself. She is not the save me, save me, save me, And a lot of guys, they want to write her off because they don't want to write the wife or the girlfriend. They just want to just do the hero. He did a whole little mini story about her in this book. It just proves, again, he knows the character. He went delved into her history, and I think it was about in the 90s where she was the actress and she was making a lot of money in movies and stuff like that. He readdressed that, and he proved how smart and how strong and capable she is. It was like,
awesome.
Yes,
because I totally agree with that. I was saying the same thing about Lois Lane.
Yeah.
Mary Jane is one of the great characters of comics, and you're right. A lot of writers like to put her aside as Spider-Man's girlfriend, but she deserves more detail.
It's hard for a lot of those guys to write for characters like that. It's too bad because the character's part of the book. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, she had her little adventure without him. It's not Spider-Man being involved at all.
That's what I like about anniversary books. They have little cool stories.
Yes, you get those little backstories. It's a great time to be a Spider-Man fan. You see her on the cover there. I'm a big fan of Electro. Even the new Electro. I love that mask. I love that wacky suit. I love all the attention that Mysterio is getting these days. That's good fun. And if you haven't, for some reason, been reading Amazing Spider-Man, you've got to check out 16 through 23 with the side books. You've got 23.
That's the end of the hunt.
Because the hunt was awesome. It was kind of exactly what you said, Chris. It was an awesome revisit of all the classic villains. It was the setup we've seen 1,000 times, but it was executed in a way that was fresh and exciting.
I'm going to do this off camera,
yeah,
so you can see. Mark can see who I was talking about.
All-time classic, right there.
Yeah,
all-time classic.
Oh, that explains why that book has gone up in value.
So, that's just,
not that one, the first appearance.
Yeah, it's a really fun time to be a Spider-Man fan, and if you read number 16. Which you'd probably pick up in third printing at this point. You can wait for the collection, but it's going to be a little while. But I'd really encourage any superhero fan and anybody that used to love Spider-Man to pick up number 16, read through this week's 25. It will make you feel like that time you loved reading Spider-Man.
I'll tell you, I have had a really hard time reading what's on top of the pile, because it's like normally, Spider-Man usually is on top of the pile, but there's been some other incredible books have been competing with it, and it's like, what do I read first? And coming from both publishers, Marvel and DC, have just been getting it out of the park.
Nice problem to have, which is a good segue, as this is a peek behind the curtain of our usual show. We go on like this every week, and mostly because we're comic lovers and we rant about comics, but it's specifically about what Chris just said, because every week I have a stack like this, sometimes twice this size. It could easily be twice this size, actually, of books that you guys should be checking out. There are so many books. Marcus and I, and I won't speak for you, Chris, because you're more selective and more smart and reasonable than he and I.
Less funds.
Marcus and I pick up all kinds of stuff every week, and there's still 10, 20 books we would leave behind. There's 20 books we don't even know about, right? There's 20 books we don't even know about, and because it's just such a great time for comics, and we run over our time every week because there's always great books to talk about. Talk about something like Spider-Man, we go on, and great
now,
stories,
too,
great
a lot of
artists.
events coming on. So all these events that have been happening in the summertime, you got to stay up on those too.
We'll get to that with Deceased and different things. So to that point, we're gonna keep rolling on with this giant stack of comics, staying in the Spider World. Black Cat number 2. Can you see the two different cover styles there? It's very subtle, but it's there. See the little carnageized little
carnage blood. So
just sort of letting everybody know there's two different versions of the A cover. And then there's a B cover and the variants and all that. Just we wouldn't be Black Cat Comics if I didn't say, hey,
not to mention that's also a Campbell cover.
And it's also
and
a
it's
J.
the A cover too, right?
Yes.
And when you can get an artist like that on the A cover, that's really nice.
That's just it's I'll be honest, the book didn't suck me in, but the covers were fun, and we're only 2 issues in, so I'm giving it a chance because we're Black Cat.
I read the first one, and it was kind of good. I liked it.
There you go. Chris,
It's a good first issues.
yeah.
I like that they pull you in. It doesn't get a lot of action, or they're setting up the story, and I thought it was good. So
I always
who's
give
the second
things
one?
3 issues.
Yeah.
So we'll see where they go with the third one. Did you check out Black Cat?
No,
number 1 yet?
I got it, but it's just they're in the giant to be read pile.
There you go.
And we all had that pile. It's our all comic book reader shame.
Yeah.
X-Men. Well, that's part of
Especially
the
when
thing.
you haven't
That's
got your books for 2 weeks.
There you go. But that's another nice problem to have. As we say, there's so many good books from so many different publishers that we're all behind on our reading. Another reason at the top of the show, I usually say, if you're not caught up, maybe you want to listen to last week's show and catch up to this week's show. Just to stick on this week's Marvel stuff, and I'll pick up the pace a little bit. Star Wars number 68. You know, you read the newsletter, you listen to the podcast, you watch the video. I talk about the Star Wars stuff all the time. I mentioned 68 specifically because this is where they shift from episode 4 to episode 5.
Ooh.
Okay.
From 1 through 67 is more about just after the Death Star blew up, and now at number 68 we're moving closer toward the invasion of Hoth. And everybody knows Empire Strikes Back is the greatest movie ever made. Everybody knows that Empire Strikes Back is the greatest everything ever. So getting closer to that in this series is really awesome. This book has been really, really great from the beginning. I've been saying all along, if you're a sci-fi fan, if you're a Star Wars fan, if you're a comic book fan, great stories, great art, et cetera, et cetera. But if for all these
Talking
years...
about the art, that's Phil
Yeah,
Noto.
Phil
And
Noto.
I didn't know he was doing Spider.
Here's a non-spoiler
I
page of
Star Wars.
C-3PO and Chewbacca action. It's
His
just
art is
awesome.
really good. It kind of lends itself. When I saw that, I'm like, he's good for the Star Wars style.
Yeah.
'Cause
The
it's
people
kind of
look
style
like
he
the
has.
people, and it's been a great book. And like I say, if you haven't taken my word for it for the previous 67 issues, now we're getting into episode 5. So pick up Star Wars 68.
All the
and,
Star Wars ones I read have all been good.
It's a great. It's
I was
a lot
reading
of fun.
like those one-shot ones I was getting.
That's
All those stories were
what
good.
I'm
They were
getting
either
to next.
before an old book or after an old book, so it was good.
Which is Captain Phasma. All the Age of is what they were
Age
doing.
of.
Age of Republic, Age of Resistance. They're all one shots. This one's Captain Phasma. I love Phasma because Chrome is awesome. And whichever era you like, there's one shots for that era. There's characters for that era, from Han Solo to Count Dooku and everybody in between. And so check those out if you're a Star Wars fan, because it's been lots of fun. The last thing I want to get to, because I want to wrap up the Marvel thing, at least for this week, I wanted to mention really quick, Marvel's doing a really cool program with reprints.
Oh, yeah.
I'll say really fast. When I was a kid, when Marcus was a kid, when Chris was a kid, back when the earth was cooling, there was no trade paperbacks. The only way to get old comics and read old comics was in reprints, like Marvel Collector's Item Classic, Marvel Super Action. I'm sure DC had a version of such a thing. So right now, Marvel's doing a really cool thing. One is called True Believers. And every week they put out a couple of different books for just $1. They're reprints of all-time great books. This week was Carnage stuff, but I wanted to show you. This is a reprint of Amazing Spider-Man #1 that you can buy for $1, and it's freaking awesome. This is a reprint of Amazing Spider-Man 129, the first appearance of the Punisher. This book will cost you $300 in any kind of condition that you find it. You will never find this book for less than $300, so buying it for $1 is really awesome. They have a whole range of classic stuff. New ones coming every week. So if you like the comics, the old stuff, if you're just looking for something to read, if you're looking for something to give to a kid that they can totally destroy, then True Believers is awesome. Secondly is the facsimile program. I don't know if you can see that because I'm here in the sun, but these are exact reprints of the original issue. This is X-Men #1. They've done, I don't know, all kinds of them. The Guardians, first appearance of Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel Presents #3, all kinds of things. What makes it awesome by facsimile, it's the original ads. So this is the book. Let's find a cool ad page. The book as it originally was presented back in the day. And it's just really fun. It's really fun to see the original ads. It's really fun to read an old school comic like it was meant to be read. The trade paperbacks don't give you the original ads.
Or anything like that.
You don't get the feel of the old comic, even the in-store or in-house ads, as they say, for the old comics.
It's good to get them just for that.
And they're cover price. They're $3.99 for these things, and there's all kinds of them.
Was it Hulk 181?
They did Hulk 181. They did Amazing 300. It's really, really great program in a really fun way. Last thing I'll talk about is Marvel Tales, another great way to pick up reprints. Again, the Captain America one was the one out this week, but we're on a Spider-Man thing for the movie. So this one collects Amazing Spider-Man 66, Marvel Spotlight 32, which is the first appearance of Spider-Woman, and Peter Parker number 90, says the old man eyes that could barely read. But anyway, they're big chunky books. They're like $7.99, but they're stuffed with classic reprints of all different eras of your favorite comic. This is the Spider-Man one. There's a Black Widow one, a Captain America one, a Fantastic Four one. So it's an awesome, awesome way to introduce yourself or to, again, younger readers or anybody to the great classic stories. They pick awesome books to put in here.
That's
cool
what I like.
keys like Mysterio.
That they pick to reprint. And just to mention, it comes wrapped around this beautiful cover.
Yeah, they have great covers. I'm a little disappointed.
All their covers have been good.
As I was preparing for the show, I had this week's Captain America in my hand, and I wanted to talk about it because it had Cap 255, the John Byrne origin issue in it, and it had Tales of Suspense 59, which is the second appearance of Cap after Avengers number 4. So it's a great reason. Anyway, Marvel Tales. So pick up Marvel Tales, pick up the facsimiles, pick up the True Believers. Treat yourself to some inexpensive ways to read some of the best comics of all time. I said that would be the last thing. This is the last thing. It's the all ages thing. Like reprint, all ages. Check out Little Golden Books. You loved them when you were a kid. Little Golden Books does a whole line of this, Marvel stuff, DC stuff, the Star Wars stuff, and it's just as much fun as it was when we were 3. Just as fun for your little ones. They have Thanos ones, for crying out loud. This Avengers one was from this week. And IDW is doing a whole line of Marvel all ages stuff. This is the Black Panther one. This is Black Panther number 2. They've done Spider-Man, they do Avengers, they do Black Panther, they do Captain Marvel. They've been selling like hotcakes. The reason I mention this, aside from being awesome all ages material, I've seen multiple little kids turn into guys like us. So a kid just yesterday who knew Black Panther number 2 was out. He makes his dad call me every Wednesday. Is there Marvel Action Comics from IDW this week? And when I tell them there is one, they come running. And breeding guys like us is what it's all about. Making it fun for kids is what it's all about. So that's what I wanted to pitch this week. Now we can get into Marcus stuff because it was Batman Mania this week.
Yeah, sure.
When I just dropped that stack of really Batman comics. We'll talk about the cardstock B covers in a minute, but we can go with this guy first, Event Leviathan, because this is Bendis and Malieve. Francie, shout from the back how awesome Bendis and Malieve are.
Incredibly, wonderfully awesome. Love.
There you go.
When I've seen that they got him, Malieve to do the art, that's really good because he hasn't done anything for DC in a while that I know of. So it was nice to see him back.
Did you read the first one?
Yeah, I read the first one. Yeah, I read the 2. There's 2 before that too.
The Superman special
issue of Action Comics, and then there was a special, and then I haven't read that one yet though.
I'm
It's
curious.
been good. It's interesting to see where they're going to go. I like this one because it's all the mystery characters. It's really cool. Anything with the question in it, I like that.
I'm curious how Plastic Man works into all this. I like when he's not the goofy
Plastic
one.
Man did fight crime when he first came out.
He's a detective. He's ridiculous, but he is a detective.
So he does count.
It's one of the many event things they've got going on, right? With Deceased and, Doomsday Clock is still rolling. Heroes in Crisis just wrapped up. But this has been spreading out across the DCU again with house ads and different things.
Beginning of the villain, they have just that villain special that came out, right?
Year of the Villain.
Yeah, that was a really good story. So preparing you for all the new villain books that were going to coming out. So I was amazed that wasn't it cheap or like a real cheap price or something like that?
Yes, 25 cents.
Yeah, 25 cents. Yeah, and I was surprised that it was such a quality book for only 25 cents.
For sure. It was too. It had 3 cool stories in it.
Yeah.
Why don't you take us on the Batman tour? This week we got Batman, Detective, and Batman and the Outsiders.
Yeah,
we never get Batman and Detective in the same week.
I can't wait to go home and read this. Anytime with the Spectre, I love the Spectre. But Batman for me has been pretty good. I think I said this the last time that we did the podcast. It's been consistent all the way through. A lot of people don't like the story arc that's going on right now because it's a lot of the stories for that little period were all like in Bruce Wayne's mind, so you didn't know what was real and what wasn't. So so now we kind of are moving on past that. So and it's kind of cool seeing his other dad back too. So. It's been good. The only bad thing is that Tom King is leaving with issue number 85.
Yeah.
I heard.
Yeah, they're cutting his run short.
Yeah, because he had said he had 100 issues that he was going to do, his story, and they cut him short. But he's going to do a Batman Catwoman miniseries.
Yeah.
to tie
And
up.
that's how he's going to wrap it all up.
Right.
Yeah, and I know Francis would be sad to see Tom King go too. He's done really good with Batman.
I really like the run. And, as with a lot of things, with the severe critics of almost anything, I almost always feel the exact opposite way. Meaning, I really I've always said I'm not the biggest Batman fan. I'm more of a Batman universe, Batman family fan. But I think what he's doing is one of my favorite things to do with Batman, like they like to do with Daredevil. I love these trips into the psyche.
Mhm.
I love the,
I do too.
I love when people get into this aspect and that aspect, and it becomes this whole psychological drama. Batman is supposed to be a psychological drama. And so, Tom King has brought up different facets, different things that you haven't thought about before.
What does that remind you of?
Joe Kelly.
I mean the book.
Oh, I don't
Raven
know.
Bolt.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
You'd see covers just like that back in the day.
Gotta show folks that we don't see enough of the
No,
Spectre.
we don't.
And,
it's kinda
and,
cool
and the
to see him
Spectre is
bring
one
him
of the great heroes, anti-heroes.
And him and Batman work very well together.
Sure,
because he's a police detective. Batman's a detective, and Spectre's out there.
I've been saying, as good as the Tom
But
King
he's
run
good with
is,
I like supernatural stuff with Batman. So.
Detective's been running neck and neck with Batman. I think they're both just as good.
Tomasi's a good writer because he was doing Superman before Detective, right? Was it Superman or Action? He was doing one of them, and it was really good. So I was worried when Bendis was going to take over that it wasn't going to be good. Actually, Bendis is better. But I still love Tomasi. So seeing him on Detective was really good too, because he's good with Batman. So at least both books have good writers. The first story in the Arkham Knight one was actually way better than I thought it was going to be. At first, I was like, okay, I'm a Batman character and doing my thing. But it was really good how they ended it. So, I thought it was a good series. So now they're just picking up on, this is probably like a one-shot, I bet you. Because I don't think the last issue.
It sort of feeds into something, but I think if you read Detective 1000, you are definitely and stayed with the book. You are appreciating that you stayed.
Well, they
with
tied right into the next issue, 1001, so that was nice. They had like a little preview story.
And like I say, getting Batman and Detective in the same week is pretty awesome.
Yeah. I like that. It reminds me when I was a kid.
And like I say, I like the Tom King thing. I like taking the we've a little like Hunted. It's showing us the different villains, showing us different aspects of being Bruce Wayne, of being Batman. It's not necessarily always action packed, though this week's issue is totally action packed.
This book has actually been really good. I've only read the first two,
Batman and the Outsiders,
but they've been really good. Yeah. It's kind of like, okay, Batman, you're going to do the Outsiders again, and they're like, okay, especially Black Lightning, because he's been in like every Outsiders there is. So when he asked him, he's like, okay, I guess we'll do this again. But it was really good. I have to say I enjoyed the first two issues. So
I love the original run, and it made me a fan of Black Lightning and Katana. So I always say I like the Bat universe. I'm not a big Batman specifically fan. I always like the other things that they do with them. And that's my segue into the DC cardstock covers.
Yeah, I love them.
There it is. Ra's al Ghul. Super awesome. And my segue to the super books. Superman and Supergirl came out this week. And like I say, cool cardstock up close.
Adam Hughes,
yes, it is. I couldn't find his signature on it, but it sure looks like him. And anywho, they started doing this cardstock style. It's $1 more, but in some cases, I think it's pretty worth it. At first, I was not crazy about this, and I'd have to say I'm still a little reticent because I've liked their AB program, and I've liked the covers they've been doing, and I like that you can go 50-50 at the same price. I don't necessarily like
that's what I like.
$1 more for the B cover.
They're just 50-50. You don't have to do a ratio.
Right. But they have cool themes and all that kind of thing. If you have the buck to spare, check out that cool Brainiac cover. check out the cool Lois Lane cover.
And when was the last time you seen that? The light bulb Brainiac.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
excellent.
So like I say, it was fun. And the super books. Superman 30 Bendis is just killing it. Kind of like
Superman's great. I've been waiting for this one because you keep thinking it's going to come to a conclusion, but it still hasn't come to a conclusion. Now it's part 7. I'm like, when is this going to end?
when does it?
It's been great though. I mean, it's like each issue is like one of those summer blockbuster movies. It's just constant action, and they're flying around,
Explosions
people,
and bad guys, and
you're wondering if John's going to come. You know, what's going to happen with him? I think he's going to stay as he is. I don't think he's going to DH.
I think he's going to leave with the Legion.
That's what I think too. I think he's going to be in the Legion.
I said for a while that the Doomsday Clock could totally end with him being the Superboy that Cosmic
But they're going to be in
comes for
one of the new issues of Action Comics, and then I guess they're going to get their own book, is what they said. You know, so we'll see.
There's at least a 2-parter coming up. Everybody loves the Legion, so they're always looking for a way to bring the Legion back. But like I say, I kind of dig the cardstock covers. I wasn't crazy about it at first, but it is kind of worth $1, at least for like your main books,
and
or
it's
if
only
they do
one month.
the character that you like or whatever.
And it's kind of cool to do that on the version covers too, because it looks so well. Full bleed.
And like I say, the Bendis has been doing a great job. Supergirl has been a lot of fun. He's not writing Supergirl, but it runs parallel to the other stuff that they're doing. And it's just a good time to be a super fan. It's a good time to be a Justice League fan. Well, as we said earlier, it's just what people come in and they haven't been in comics for a while, and they say, how do I catch up? Or I don't remember the last issue. And I tell them, don't worry about that. Jump in, grab the latest issue of whatever it is you used to like to read. It's probably pretty good right now. I say that all the time. And they'll walk to Fantastic Four, or they'll walk to whatever book that was their book back in the day. And it's probably pretty good if you really think about it. If somebody came in this week, picked up Amazing Spider-Man or Batman or last week's Uncanny X-Men, or like I say, any of the basic titles, and then the other stuff's true. If you picked up an Image #1, Reaver was the book everybody was talking about this week. If you picked up Reaver, you would be like, oh, Image is still totally doing their thing. Yeah. This is a cool horror sci-fi book with great stories and great art. By someone I've never heard of, but he's awesome. And so, like I say, whatever your thing is in comics, they're kind of kicking butt with it.
Yeah, right now you can pick up any book, and you recognize the characters. You may not know what's going on immediately, like, where's this character been that they referred back to, but you're gonna look at it and go, yeah, this is the FF. Yeah, this is Batman. This is the guy I knew when I was a kid.
Yes, it will be recognizable.
They've done a good job, Marvel and DC, with their restarts. Have been good this time, especially the Marvel ones. They've been really good. They all had the essence of the character. Even like Doctor Strange, where he was out in space, it was still Doctor Strange out in space. It wasn't anything out of character for him.
It's true. It kind of across the line, as I think about it. We may have touched on this before. It is a little bit of established in the original classic stuff and a little bit fresh, new, and interesting. Example, Doctor Strange is master of the mystic arts, but you've never seen him fighting Galactus. You've never seen him fighting multiple Dormammu before.
Which makes sense, because he's probably the only guy who can fight
Galactus. And that's what Immortal Hulk, I think, is the best example, because Immortal Hulk has just lit comics on fire.
Right back to its roots. It's a horror book.
It's Incredible Hulk #7. Before it went to Tales to Astonish, his original first 6 issues was a horror book. And then, like I say, I think Immortal Hulk #1 is kind of Incredible Hulk #7, and it's creepy and it's dark and the art's amazing.
And it's a sin that how long that flew under the radar. Most people.
I was telling a guy just yesterday, I had like 1 through 5 sitting, it wasn't until like and apparently no one watches the show or watches my video because I talked about it like crazy. This book's awesome. This book's awesome. This book's awesome.
Both of us, we were talking about it.
Stack until like issue #6, and then it just exploded. But anyway, like I say, across the board, I think Marvel's giving us what we want, but in a new and fun and exciting way. And like I say, DC's doing the same thing. Batman, Justice League, Wonder Woman is a great example. We could be talking about Wonder Woman, Flash. I don't know, again, whatever kind of you want to throw out there.
This stuff's been good with most of their titles all the way back to when Rebirth started. You know, even Justice League that rebooted again, but it's still the same. You know, the same good stories.
Yeah.
Actually, it's better now than it was before.
And I should mention really quick that it's true with all the other guys too. Dynamite is a company I talk about all the time. I don't have a couple in front of me to show the nice folks at home, but two things I'll say super fast is the era of mashups I've been loving to talk about. Right now we have Red Sonja and Vampirella, Betty and Veronica, which is just, I mean, the title just says it all, right? We have Charlie's Angels versus the Bionic Woman, which is awesome. Again, Dynamite does a great job with their licensed property stuff because they keep it in its era, but also make it, you know, new and modern and all that kind of thing. This week we got Black Hammer and Justice League. And Black Hammer is one of Dark Horse's best books. And so the indie guys, you got one right there.
About 2 weeks ago, maybe. IDW Star Trek. Oh, year 5. Oh my God!
Liking year 5.
I'm loving it. I
think we talked about that last time.
Yeah, we did talk about it.
It's really cool.
It's amazing. You know, and again, it's exactly what you're saying. They're giving us what we want. These are the characters we've known and loved. We know how they should be portrayed, but we're getting new stuff. But we're not feeling like it's like, who's that in the captain's chair? That's not Kirk. It looks like Kirk. You know, but that's not
Spock
Kirk.
wouldn't talk like that or whatever. It's not like that at all.
What I like about it too is it's stories that are untold as far as we know because they never did a year 5.
But they're also,
we know it existed because they always talk about it.
Right. It's a 5-year mission, right?
Yeah.
And they got home somehow because they made movies.
And there's stuff that are being referred to that's going to come out in the movies later on. You know, they're not hitting you over the head with it, but they are. Like anything else, they're mentioning it because that's their life, you know. Things that they're worried about in this book, they were came to fruition in the movies, you know.
Yeah,
it's so neat. I'm really glad you mentioned that because it's a good point that you can talk about IDW doing Marvel doing Star Wars. I was just ranting and raving about Marvel doing Star Wars, IDW doing Star Trek. Boom doing Firefly, Boom's Planet of the Apes, Dark Horse's Alien and Predator stuff. They, aside from the current series, they have been putting out big compendiums of like best of Alien, best of Predator. So we talk a lot about superhero stuff. We talk a lot about Marvel and DC because we love Marvel and DC, and there's lots of great superhero stuff to talk about. But if you're a science fiction fan and you love these properties, like every comic book person does, whatever your favorite sci-fi thing is, there's a great comic for that. And like I say, it's fun to see that IDW and Boom Studios and Dynamite and these guys are responsible for a lot of this.
Everybody's got a few good books. It's nice how the publishers have good books. Or like some of them put out a nice line of books too. So it's really good. And then Image puts out tons of books.
That's for sure. We will be talking probably right around the corner about Spawn. We'll probably, when Spawn 300 comes, we'll probably do a whole show.
I don't have any Spawn with me, but I have to say, because I read the first one, 296, then I read 297. I haven't read the new one yet, but they've been really good. I mean, they just kind of, those two issues are just going through. The first issue, I believe, was 1 to 100. I think the second one was 101 to 150, or something like that. But it was really good because they just hit on points in his life. And if you're like me, and you stopped reading it for 100 issues. This is filling in those spots.
Sure. I've said for a long time, and this might overstate it a bit, and like everybody, I know Todd has his critics. I'm one of them. But just to say that it's a lot like Astro City for me. Spawn and Astro City blew comics away when they came out, and they were far beyond anything anybody else was doing in comics. Astro City was story driven at a time when nothing was story driven. And Spawn just blew everything away. Spawn was just a great comic. And then, fortunately for everybody, comics caught up to them. Astro City and Spawn have stayed awesome, but they don't really do Astro City anymore. But they raised the bar. It's kind of yearly now. Yeah. We're waiting for the graphic novel series now, and hasn't started yet. But anyway, they raised the bar. Comics met that, and in some ways went beyond that. In a lot of ways, it's a whole other conversation. But just to say that Spawn never decreased. Spawn has always been what it started as: great stories, great art, mystical superhero stuff, dark and edgy, and all those things.
That's why I've stopped and started so many times with it. You read it for a little while and it's good, and then you maybe just stop because you got too much stuff. But then all of a sudden you pick it up and read it again and it's good.
for whatever you're late, and we've all done that, or at least a vast majority of us have done that, have gone away from it, dropped it for whatever reason, but then came back to it and went, oh, this is actually really good. This is just as good as I remember. I hear people say to me all the time, oh, this is just as good as I remember when I was reading it 25, 50, 100 issues ago. And that's very much to his credit. You know, he has done what he set out to do. As he hits issue 300, you can go back and read those compendiums. And if you like the first one, you're going to like the next 299.
You have to respect. I mean, whether you like it or not, you got to respect the book that makes it to issue 300.
Oh. Sure.
Any books, like we were talking about, what was that one book? Knights of the Dinner Table?
Yes, Knights of the Dinner Table. It will be reaching 300 soon.
You got to respect a book like that.
Sure.
You know?
And they don't have the big publisher behind it like Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
I mean, again, how many Marvel and DC books have hit 300?
Yeah.
That's right. Not many.
No.
And to do it creator owned and Savage Dragon will get there.
Yeah, I was about to say Eric Larson.
And along the way, they've built Image Comics into what it is. They've given Walking Dead and sex criminals and all these other things a venue and a platform and an audience. And
now they put more books out than anybody.
Well, they put out as many books as the other guys, and that's well, like I say, I sort of wanted to mention. We talk a lot about the big two, but with the other guys, it's just as true. You can come in here. I'm on every Wednesday. I make a point to mention at least one Dynamite, Boom, IDW, Oni Press, all these other guys, because there's a book from all the publishers.
I have a whole bunch of them on my stack right now. I saw
there you go, Archie,
Betty Page.
Betty
What
Page.
else did I see? Red Sonja was in there.
Elvira.
Elvira was in there. All these books
they so got me with the Betty Page thing because with Unbound in issue 1, it's Betty Page as Red Sonja. Issue 2 is Betty Page as Vampirella. Issue 3 is Betty Page as Dacia Thoris. So as cheesecake as that sounds, they're great characters, and what they're doing with the Betty Page book is a lot of fun.
Like with Red Sonja, yes, the covers are very nice, and I like buying those covers. They're very nice, but the book is really good too. Don't just think people are just buying it for for the covers. What I like about Red Sonja is we always talk about the formula when it comes to characters like Conan or Red Sonja, and they hit the formula. Mm-hmm. She fights a big group of guys. She kills them all. There's a guy she has sex with, and there's a monster.
And then and then there's Mead. And
they're in the tavern at one point.
The tavern, and then you're off to the next adventure. That's what it's all about.
You know what you're getting, and so you're not expecting much. But they actually do a pretty good job of adding other things in there. You know, the little things about her history, or why she's the way she is, or why she does what she does. So it's been a good series.
Yeah, but that's why you originally come there for the formula, that's fighting this and that. Mm-hmm. But the extras, you find out about her history. That's just like icing on the cake.
Yeah, sure. Well, there's been good stories. So I don't want people to think that they just put out these multiple books with 5 covers and they're not good because they are.
No,
that's and like I say, all the publishers have a range of things that are worth checking out, and that's true with these books. That's true with the all ages books. Another thing I say in the video every week, every publisher has an all ages book that's worth reading. And I don't care who you are, how much you love Walking Dead and Stray Bullets and all the other dark and sinister books. There is still an all ages book out there that you would love, Samurai Jack or Star Wars Adventures or whatever it might be for you, for the young reader in your life. As I look at the wall there, as I mentioned, all the IDW stuff from Marvel has been a lot of fun. On and on I could go, but like I say, there's an endless range of great material out there, which, because we have like 10 minutes left, brings me to next week to the point of awesome stuff that comes every week. So next week we get Batman 75 going up from 74.
Something's going to happen in there.
That's going to be awesome. Justice League 28 is part of this Year of the Villain stuff. If you picked up Justice League 25, you've been reading Justice League all along because that book's awesome. But if you haven't, you need to pick up next week's 28 because it's great. Immortal Hulk 21. Immortal Hulk is one of the best books in comics. Spidey Life Story number 5. We can talk a year about Spidey Life. How much fun are you having with that book?
Oh my gosh! What decade is it going to be now?
90s now?
No, they're going to be about 2000.
Yeah. How old is Peter?
What?
How old is Peter now?
He's like 50s now.
He's 50.
He was in 10th grade in 1960.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you this.
He's like 70.
My highest recommendation. It's going to be, I'm going to buy this in hardback.
Yep. I totally agree with that. Yeah. Spider-Man Life Story. If you don't know about it, Google it. The concept is awesome, and like you say, it's worth picking up in single issue. It's worth spending the money on a first print of #1. It's worth buying that trade paperback or the hardcover. However, it's going to be one of the best Spider-Man graphic novels up there with all
They're
the
a
other
little bit
stuff.
more than cover price. Probably, they were kind of expensive anyway.
No.
Like $4.99.
Right? Yeah.
It's
not
probably like $5,
maybe
$6
double
bucks.
cover or something.
Maybe
but
#2 might be more than the others.
totally worth picking
but
up.
It's still worth it.
But they're just.
It was so much fun and all that. Okay, so then Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen from Matt Fraction.
Yeah, can't
his
wait.
book everybody's been waiting for.
Yeah.
The Lois Lane thing was a lot of fun. Seeing the return of Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen in their own book is a lot of fun. And I personally get a Jughead double feature next week. I get Jughead versus Vampironica, and I get Jughead Time Police. Again, it's a great example of how all the publishers are doing awesome stuff. I could go on and on about Archie.
You want to know what? I found my old Time Police.
Nice.
Because I told Mark I think I had some. I did find it.
Okay, really quick, and this will mean nothing to anybody but me. In the Riverdale show, and like the first or second episode of that Riverdale show, they purposely give you a shot of Jughead looking through a magnifying glass. He's like at his dad's house, or he's somewhere, and he's looking at just random stuff, and he picks up the magnifying glass, and it's the cover from Jughead Time Police #1. And I was like, oh, that's such a great nod, because only like the deep Archie fans have any idea that Jughead is a time traveling police officer. And so anyway, and Jughead the Hunger versus Vampironica is a whole other topic that
Other
we
horror
can
stuff has been really good.
totally get into. So that's just a smidgen of the awesome stuff that's coming next week. Then we're off to San Diego Comic-Con. San Diego Comic-Con is the biggest convention in the world. It runs next Wednesday to Sunday, different things every day, which is why we do our pre-Comic-Con like this. We will be getting books like this, like Batman 608, The First Hush. We'll be getting books like these, Crisis on Infinite Earths, cool stuff, vintage comics, meeting publishers, talking to creators, getting exclusive stuff, all those awesome things that you do at Comic-Con. We're really jazzed about that. So, Marcus, your favorite thing to do, okay, your second favorite thing to do at conventions, because your first favorite thing to do is rifle long boxes like I do. So what's your...
okay, if I'm not going through long boxes, I'm walking down Artist Alley talking to the artists and talking to the local guys. I really like to talk to all the local guys and girls. If they have art, that's how I met Megan. If they have art and I like it, I'm going to stop and I'm going to talk to them, so I do that. And also I like to go through there too, because you see some old guys that you remember one show that what's his name, Tony DeZinga or whatever. With his wife, and there was nobody there. So I told my wife, I said, this is one of the best artists from the '70s. So we talked to him. He's Filipino. We talked to him for a while. Yeah. It was kind of nice. So you see guys like that.
From the 70s,
you see guys like that. You got to talk. Just tell them you like their work, and say thank you. So that's all you need to do. Yeah. So that's what I do if I'm not buying books.
Yeah. For me, it's just seeing the things that I never knew existed or only heard of. Was it the toy show? When I saw the USS flag from the G.I. Joe. I was like, I've never seen one in person. It's like, oh my god,
that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then they had the box for the space shuttle one.
I
was like, oh man, I'd never seen that.
Yeah, so never seen it.
That's might be my second favorite thing to do. Though, to be honest, it's sort of a 1.5. Is to walk the floor looking for those things, looking for when I've blown my budget and I'm not allowed to look at comics anymore. Then I walk around and I'm looking at awesome toys and awesome stuff. And one of my favorite things, we all love that thing that we wanted as a kid or didn't have, or maybe we had, whatever. But the one notch higher than that, strangely enough, after all these years, is seeing that thing you never freaking knew existed. And I forget now what it is, but I saw Planet of the Apes, Amigo Planet of the Apes, something that I had never seen before. And I was like, how is it possible that there's Amigo Planet of the Apes thing that I didn't know existed?
There was one I saw. They had the, I don't know if it was a statue or a toy, but they had the Homer from the Homer where he made the car. So this is like he's in the car like this. And I was like, I want this. And I came back and it was gone.
That's what I love about the toy
I hate
show.
that, but it was just like, I've never seen it.
We always come away with at least one toy.
Yeah.
He buys the Viewmaster.
I do hunt for Viewmaster rooms. So that's
that one guy was selling the little things for $10, remember? the new ones. Like
Oh, yeah, the actual.
viewers. I was
Yeah.
like $10 to get one of those.
That's super awesome.
Then they charge you $20 for the reel.
So yeah, that's next week. I mean, it doesn't really get much bigger than San Diego Comic-Con. So we're really jazzed about that, and we'll be posting pictures and posts and live video and all that kind of stuff. So keep up with the YouTube channel, keep up with the Facebook page, as we do our best to bring you as much of San Diego Comic-Con as we can.
I like your videos from the shows. You guys do a really good job. I would suggest that you do more.
Appreciate that. It's actually not
really
as easy
cool.
as it seems.
I know it's not easy, but it's kind of cool when
yeah.
you pops up on Facebook and you're like this cool video, and I'm not there, and I'm like, oh, look at it. You're not even looking at Mark. You're looking at that guy behind you.
Well, we want you to feel like you're there, and that's part of the fun. And of course, like I said, we're going to be coming back with a chunky stack of books like The Death of the Flash.
I'll buy those two right now.
Yeah, sure. So you're going to want to get in here not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after, because that's when I put up all the stuff on the wall. And
tell them to come early because they
see
want
what
to
I've
get
come
you.
back
Yeah,
with.
they
I'm
beat
just
you and me
losing
there.
it. Yes, I'm getting the wrap it up sign from the back. Yep,
Oh, yeah.
yep. I'm just winding into that. I should say, when we get back from San Diego, it will be our anniversary. Is it 17, 18 years this year? 17 years here at Black Cat Comics. So we'll be happy birthday to us too, and that's lots of fun. Really quick, want to mention what's left here in the party this week. Today, we'll wrap it up in about 5 minutes, but today was the big DC sale. Tomorrow is the big Marvel sale. Everything Marvel Comics that's not new this week or in your sub box is 25% off. That's comics, trades, toys, t-shirts, good stuff, the big Marvel sale. And then we're doing movie night. Movie night is one of my favorite things here at the pre-Comic-Con Comic-Con. We set up in the back parking lot. We're showing Captain Marvel this year, which is going to be lots of fun. We got seats, we got popcorn. It's free. It's fun. So just come on out and,
it's fun. Like
and
I
have
said,
a
my
good
wife's
time.
looking forward to it. She loves doing it all the time. So she just said, bring a blanket.
There you go. Yes, it can get cold as the movie runs late. That's movie night. Then Saturday is the industry panel discussions, and those are going to be a lot of fun too. Just like tonight here, you can come into the shop and participate, or you can join us online. We're going to have exactly like you see at Comic-Con. When you go to Comic-Con, they have industry professionals and they talk about stuff, endless kind of subjects, just like we do here on the podcast. So we wanted to bring a little of that to you, and I'm just going to talk about, the state of the industry, what's going on in comics, not like we usually do, where we're talking about the awesome story and art, but like, the business and the publishing and all that kind of aspect. And then we're going to get you ready for Comic-Con season. Next week is San Diego, but we're right in the middle of Comic-Cons, big and small. Pleasanton's coming up, all kinds of big and small shows. Silicon Valley's coming up. So we're going to have a little panel telling you how to get ready for conventions and what you need to be efficient and effective, because we've been doing this.
You got to save money.
That's a big part of it. That's a big part of it. But as we also say, you don't always have to spend money to have a good time, though. You can go on the cheap and have a lot of fun too. But that's the panel discussions, and then Sunday's the swap meet. And the swap meet is a ton of fun. Marcus here brings out a ton of great stuff. Chris is setting up this year for the first time, so we're all eager to dig into his boxes. We trade, we sell stuff with Black Cat Bucks. If you set up at the show, you can redeem those Black Cat Bucks for double value. It's just tons of fun. So come out and trade some stuff, or come out and raid our secret stashes and the secret stashes of a lot of other guys that are showing up, because that's lots of fun.
Toys and comics.
Is there anything I've missed? We've talked about pre-Comic-Con. We've talked about the real Comic-Con. We've talked about this week's books, next week's books. I guess that about wraps it up.
Is the Overstreet coming out next week?
Yes.
Or is
What's
that
that?
the week after?
Question from the audience. Yes. Next week is the release of the Overstreet comic book price guide. One of Marcus's favorite days of the year. Just the week of Comic-Con or the week before Comic-Con, they always put it out. And I'll say, if you don't know what the Overstreet comic book price guide is, you should Google it. You should find out. You should get yourself a copy. You don't need to get a copy every single year, but every comic fan should have a copy of the Overstreet price guide. So if you don't know what it is, get one. If you do know what it is, get a new one. It's tons of fun. The market and the industry is changing drastically every minute. And so this is particularly a good year to get a price guide.
People think it's expensive either. It's not as expensive as you
think. $30, I think.
If you get the soft cover, it's only like $29, right? $30.
Yeah, $30, and you'll read it every day for the rest of your life. So
you can mess it up if you want. It's a tool,
right?
You know.
It's a tool,
that's why I always
not a
have
collectible.
you give me the big book, because the big book is that's a tool to me. But I collect the hardcovers.
Yeah, so big book is so easy on the eyes.
So that's a good point, Francie. I'm glad you mentioned that. And so, like I say, we just want to give you a taste of what we do every week. If you're one of our regular listeners, if you're one of our 8 regular listeners, we really appreciate it. If this is your introduction to our little show, then you can tune in every Monday. We record them Sunday or Monday. I post them Monday. You pick up your books on Wednesday. You read them through the weekend. Then you tune into the show, and we talk about all your favorite stuff.
And spoil them.
And we spoil all your favorite stuff. We try to get you to read some things you haven't already read. So we appreciate you tuning in. We hope you can join us every week. You can find us at black-comics.com. You can find us at Facebook, at YouTube. You can find this at soundcloud.com. You can get on down here to the good old brick and mortar in Rock and Milpitas, 176 South Main Street. Like I say, we hope you can come out to some of the events this week. We hope to see you on New Comics Wednesday every week. And thanks for watching.
Yeah.
All right, that wraps it up.
That was good.